Hello everybody, 411, I'll be teaching you how to use Blender. When you open Blender, you'll see a little come to this screen. Now, Blender uses your middle mouse button, the thing that you scroll, is how you rotate the screen or navigate around. The left mouse button changes this, which you don't have to worry about for now, and the right mouse button selects things. If you want to move your object on an axis, then you can use your left mouse button to do so. And say you moved it but you want to put it back, then Control Z, which is undo. If you're moving it and you haven't snapped it yet, you can't Control Z, so press Escape. Now, and when you're done, go back to this video. Now that you should be comfortable with the controls, you can zoom with the middle mouse button also. Now this is a lamp and this is the camera, which you won't need right now, so ignore that. This is a pretty boring scene. Add a plane. You can do this in two ways. Over here it says create, you can add a plane, or you can press Shift A to add all the stuff. Now you probably won't have some of these because I changed some stuff up here, but don't worry about that. Now you have the plane, so what I want to do is put the plane here and center it up. There's an easier way to center it up using a lot of other things, but right now, today, we're just gonna get into the basics. So, yeah. Now, from here, this plane isn't big enough. S to scale it, and I can press S with X, Y, or Z to scale it in that dimension. Now, of course, planes really don't have a third dimension, so you can't really scale it up at all. But, well, you can actually do it when you put the millions of Z scale, something like that. I don't remember. Right now, I didn't press any letter, and I pressed the number 8, as you can see down here. And when I press 8, it basically means I'm gonna scale this with a scale factor of 8 in all directions. I can press the right mouse button now, and you'll see it made that plane. I'm gonna press A to deselect everything. I can also press A to select everything. Now, because sometimes this will be a little harder to get to. Now, from here, let's open this up. You don't have to worry about most of these, because this is part of the animation output and stuff. What we want to go to is right here. From here, you can edit an object, like, I guess, shape, scales, up or down on the axis. I can also move it on the location. Now, Z is the y-axis that you go into, like, 3D graphing and stuff. You'll find that Z is the. There's also rotation, which you can edit here. Say 45 degrees on Y, it will edit that in the Y. You can also scale it. Now, say you don't want to open this tab up every single time. You could also press G to move it, R to rotate it, and remember you can press X, Y, or Z to do it along that axis, and then a specific number to, or you can press S to scale. So hopefully you know how to do that. Now, we can also go into here on the Materials tab. Eventually, this will change how this looks. Now we're gonna go into the very basics. We're not gonna add I don't know, humps, or change softness, put hair on it, put particles on it, or whatever yet. well, unless you guys know the basics already. But here, this will basically change the color. So this is your value scale, and this is your color wheel. So say I want to change it to like aqua. I can do that, and now it'll be aqua. This is kind of like light shading options, I believe. You can change that if you want. Now there's a lot of other functions, as you might be able to tell, but we don't need to get into that. And there's these that you don't need to get into either, and these which you don't need to get into either, and these which you don't need to get into either. So now, this is a pretty boring scene. What do we do? There's two ways you can use physics, or you can use like actual animation. So go to frame 0. This is your frame. This is when the animation starts, which we want to put to 0, and this is when it ends. And there's also different modes that you can look at it at, or not. This is the different ways you can interpret the scene, like edit mode. You can edit the vertices, faces, and stuff. Vertex paint, you can, you get the basic idea. It's already on object mode, so we can also see like how we want to look at the scene. Materials, texture, solid, wireframe, bounding box. You can do render too, but you will probably need a print. Let's put this back to material, or not material, solid. Now say we want this cube, you can select the button, move it along the y-axis with the left mouse button. We want this cube to have physics. Now let's select this, go here, rigid body, and we would change this to passive. So now this is going to stay stationary, and this will be, let's go to rigid body, active, and you can change mass, friction, or bounciness. And when we press play, you can see that physics is involved. This is play, rewind, and then stuff like that. We're not gonna get into keyframes and stuff quite yet, but now say we want to change how bouncy it is, then we can put this up to 1, which is pretty bouncy, and press play. Oh, it's not bouncy at all. Maybe let's change this up to 100. I feel like that's gonna be way too bouncy, but let's just try it out. It's not bouncy at all. Okay, well that doesn't really matter. Okay, maybe it's slightly bouncy. Let's change this back to 1. Back to the beginning before this entire thing started, and change that back to 1, and now let's see the bounciness. Yep, it's bouncing alright. And yeah. Now, say I want to export this amazing animation. First, let's go on Cycles Render, up here, Cycles. That's what most people use these days. And from here, this is your camera. You can go into camera view in many different ways, like Control or Shift F. It's kind of like Minecraft. But from view, there's all these things. So you can go to camera. You can also use numpad 0 and use it, but so here, this is the camera. You can zoom in and out. So basically, this is what the camera sees. F, and you can move the camera with you. What Shift F does is it gives you like movement. You can press WASD to move around, Q to sync, and E to rise. You can also hold Shift while you're doing it to go faster. Now I'll render it like this. Press Enter to lock your position, And I don't want this camera to move animation, so I'm not going to animate it at all. Now let's go back to regular view, and there's our camera. The lighting, it doesn't really matter, but once you render the scene, you'll see that it's very dark. So here, this is our lamp. Say we don't want a lamp, so I'm just going to delete that by pressing delete. And then I'm going to press Shift A, or you can do it this way if you want. Not recommended though. And I'm going to go to lamp. And there's 5 different lamps. You can probably like sun is like a light source from away. Spot is kind of like Hemi is like a wide and then goes in. And area is just like an area that's lit. We go with spotlight. Now, once you press spotlight, you can see this. This is your light source right here. And this is your spotlight. You can see that it, like, I guess, spawned. Remember what right click does. So that's what that does basically. Or you can Y. Well, I need to review that, but okay. So you can move the spotlight up. Okay, maybe a little down. Okay, a little more down. And yeah, this is our basic spotlight. We want this to cover almost the entire area, just like the main theme or thing of this animation. So yeah, you can see the spotlight is centered on the cube. We have a light source, but we want this light source to be a little stronger. Don't worry about this. This is just light. The size, don't have to worry about that either. Okay, so. Oh jeez, which spot was it? Pretty sure it was strength that changes the, I guess, strength of the light. Let's go back to camera view and let's press play. Oh, you can't see it in. You have to go to rendered mode. And you can see we have our spotlight, which provides pretty decent light. Now, I don't have the best graphics card in the world, so it's not going to look so well, but once you actually export the animation, it'll look pretty terrific. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so let's go back to solid. And there's our animation. Now let's go out for camera and press A to unselect everything, or select everything, but to frame 0. And we have our basic animation. So, how we export this? Well, first, actually, okay, whatever. So, you can change the animation export like speed over here. This is the speed that it's playing right now, 100%. You can make the new one 50, which makes it 200, which makes it 22 times faster, and stuff like that. Now, output. This is the most important part, along with sampling. But here, you can output the animation as any of these. Like this is a video file, or say you're gonna add sound or whatever to this. You can export as PNG. Go to your, video and stuff. But I would say AVI RAW is like the most common format thing. I don't know, but when we export it, we want this like this. These are just lighting options. Excuse me. And yeah, here, render and preview. What this does is when you actually exporting, this is how you do it once. It's gonna make a lot of mistakes, which you guys probably don't know about. And this is how many samples it takes to the render number while you're looking at it from non. So here, resolution. You can change the resolution, and we can change the frames. Like this is the starting frame and the standing frame. Now, whenever you want to another thing, overwrite and output. This is where your video output's gonna go. Now, I don't really care where it goes on your computer because that's not my problem, and you're the one where the video goes anyways. And overwrite. So say you're splitting the render computer so it's faster, or you're gonna split it between 3 days because you don't have time to do it in 1 day. What this does is when you animate it and stop mid-rendering and you have this on, the next time you do it, it's gonna overwrite the previous ones, and if it's not on, it will just continue from where you left off. Now you can press animation and the entire scene's gonna render. All 250 frames. Now it's gonna render faster if you have a better graphics card, which is always better, but my graphics card, is not very decent. Maybe it is, but not decent enough. I don't even know if my graphics card is good. Well, I'm smart. Okay, so this is what it looks like while it's rendering. Now, you probably don't want to look at this all day, so just minimize the application and watch YouTube or something while it's doing it, or go downstairs, watch TV, go downstairs, eat dinner, or maybe you don't have it downstairs, go upstairs, stay in the same floor, I don't know. So, hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial on how to use Blender. So we covered the basic controls, the materials over here, or not that. Is it not here? Apparently not. Okay, we covered a little bit of physics and basic, I guess, shape, size, place, or a lot rod scale if you use something else. And next time, if we want another episode, they can cover this, and possibly this, and probably not this, but a lot more stuff, and probably this, and we should probably also cover this. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this, like tutorial, and hopefully you learned something and have a good, no, what was my actual, I keep forgetting. Oh yeah, until next time, turn off your sticky